Guys, we're here talking about our Sundance 2025 experience, and I am so happy that you all are here to discuss that with me.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate getting to recap this really good slate this year. So
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here after coming through a snowstorm, just to be here for you guys.
You did, you rushed. Thank you so much, and I'm
Yeah,
glad you
no.
got home safely.
Yeah.
I have risen from the dead. I have been healed of my sickness. I am filling myself with Diet Coke, and I am ready to talk movies.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to be over here sipping a little bit of whiskey as I tend to do when I talk about movies. This was very graciously given by our partner, Alpine Distillery, which is a Park City based distillery. I figured that is really appropriate for this conversation to recap our
Close.
Sundance experience and, of course, highlight a wonderful Park City distillery. If you have not been there and you happen to be visiting Park City for skiing or visiting or whatever, like they have this wonderful lounge that I had the chance to visit on my last day there. And it's just such a cool vibe with really great cocktails and just an awesome atmosphere. The bartenders are super knowledgeable about the spirits and the cocktails, and it was just a wonderful experience. Couldn't recommend it highly enough. So yeah, Alpine Distillery, guys. Yeah, definitely have to give a shout out to them, and thank you again for being a partner in ForReel content. So this one is it's called Lafayette, and I guess um it's a whiskey with a cinnamon flavor. So I am looking forward to trying this for the very first time now.
was that up by the Egyptian or down closer to the bottom of Maine?
Closer to the Egyptian, so pretty convenient if you're going to a theater. If you're going to a screening at that theater,
Yeah,
you don't have to traverse the entire hill.
very cool. I
Uh,
hope
did,
it's gonna stay in Park City for the rest. I can't
mm,
imagine a change of venue. That would really be
yeah,
so.
fingers crossed. And you know what? Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that in this conversation.
Well, it's
Um,
coming for 26. I just saw, so we at least got one more.
Yeah, so we have one more time in Park City after this year, so we'll for sure be in Park City in 2026. But what are your guys' thoughts on that? Let's start with that part of the conversation because it was a big topic while we were in Park City. You know, what Sundance going to do once their contract in Park City is up, where they're going to go. Marty, what are your thoughts about this?
Um, I definitely enjoy it being in Park City. I feel like there's a certain kind of I don't know, magic being in like this small little area in the middle of the mountains. And like it's been there for so long. There's so much history like in this location. But like personally speaking, going somewhere like moving to Ohio might be nice because like I don't know, it's more walkable city. You don't have to walk through the hills and the snow and all that. And it definitely would be cheaper. You wouldn't be paying $30 at a restaurant on the Sundance menu and um I don't know. I feel like there's pros and cons on like both sides. Um, but I don't know. I definitely think there's magic to be had in Park City, and it would definitely feel like a loss to leave there.
Yeah, Alyssa, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Marty just said. It's I don't know, like it's hard to imagine it being anywhere else, but there are benefits I think to each of the remaining candidates as well. The cost thing definitely a big one. I think it's very expensive. Everything from lodging to food to everything in Park City. So that's tough, and it's a bit out there. I mean, it's like 45 minutes right from Salt Lake City, so it's a hike, and if there's snow and there's a lot going on. But that said, both Cincinnati and Boulder, right, would be snowy as well. So I don't think there's really going to be that much of a difference in weather. But like it's not like Santa Fe had been in it, right? Wasn't that the one? So that would have been a
Mm-hmm.
weird one or a different one, not necessarily weird, but um, I'd like to see it stay in Park City, but
Yeah.
um, I don't know.
Yeah, good thoughts. Jonathan, this was your first time at Sundance in Park City, right?
Yeah, this is my first time, but I like what you guys said about history. I've heard so many stories that just started there. Like so many films and people's careers like started in either the lab or like as a film there. So what I heard from Marty was like when he said you can feel the history, you really can. Like even though it's modernized, like the like storefronts are definitely like a little bit different, but like you kind of feel the whatever it is 50 almost 50 years of history. Like you don't have Robert Redford tripping on acid in the mountains, thinking of how to start the festival in Cincinnati. You don't got Quentin Tarantino like not knowing how to really use a camera yet, planning out Reservoir Dogs like on any of these kind of alternates. And from a financial standpoint, like Colorado or wherever it were to go would end up the same price like within a year or two, and that's just what it is with these like top of the line festivals is it's what they're aiming to like they're gonna hike up prices because they know they have clientele who can pay for it. And I think the privilege that we kind of get to maybe cut some of that price off of like a press pass or whatever it is the festival going to show like they really do care about creators, artists, people who have a voice or an opinion, and they're gonna try and like do their most to make you a part of it. Because that's kind of what happened to me. I didn't get a full press accreditation. Like it was on a rolling thing. They kept kind of hanging me out, and then they just were really nice with setting me up with the publicists or getting me single tickets to kind of do my own like Frankenstein version of the festival. So I can't really see I feel like if you take like it's a football team moving for no apparent reason,
Mhm.
and then they just get way
Yeah.
worse like at the next location. I can't see it happening.
I hope not. I think you all make very valid points. The cost, the cost is one thing that we have to consider, but maybe that's just going to follow the festival wherever it goes. The charm of kind of a small town, small remote area, that's another thing to consider. I know, I mean, so Slam Dance moved out of Park City, kind of cut the umbilical cord from Sundance finally, and moved out to LA. And so it's going to be very interesting to see like how Slam Dance deals with that change for themselves. But it would be I would love to see this festival in a bigger city with venues that can better accommodate the festival. We go to TIFF every year, and when you look at the
Yeah.
TIFF venues, they are, massive theaters, massive,
Yeah.
places to watch these movies. And you look at Sundance, and you have some of the most profound films of the year premiering, at a high school auditorium.
I know.
You
Or
know?
even the Egyptian only has was it 150 seats or something? It's
Hmm.
very small. So, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I have
I
yet to see anything at the library, but from things that I've heard and watching some of the Q&As at the library, like just the f fact they just project it like on a wall,
it's
like
in
insane to me. Insane.
I
Like you could
The
have
odd
like, the best movie of the festival just premiering on a brick wall. Like, okay,
the
okay.
it's
audio
not
is pretty terrible in there. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
the
saw my
sound's
last
horrible.
film there. It was weird for sure because it's so wide. Like it's
Hmm.
the seats go out so wide, and then it's like a little almost like 35 millimeter format, like in the center of this auditorium. But I think like the Ray is probably their largest like venue to pack people in, and
Yo,
I
the
was thinking
Ray
in
is
comparison
great.
to
Mm-hmm.
like
Sorry to
New
cut you off.
York, because you said TIFF, like if you're
Yeah.
in a city element, like obviously there's venues that you could get thousands, but like the median venue is gonna sit about those.
Uh-huh.
But you had me thinking about like since Sundance is in the actual organizations in Salt Lake City, like they also moved out of Park City. So what if it were to flip, like instead of
Hmm.
having a small number in Salt Lake, like they had the majority in Salt Lake and then extra screenings in Park City, perhaps. Like I think that would
Mm-hmm.
be an ideal maybe outlook. But
I think that
yeah,
might be the plan if
Yeah,
it's
I
if it
think that
stays in
is the
Utah.
plan.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so
There you
the
go.
release said Salt Lake City, Park City, but I think the idea is to make Park City the auxiliary place for extra screenings and Salt Lake City the main place. And can I just like cast a vote for that? Like
I'm right there with you 100%.
Sundance, if y'all can just like take a poll among us, like can we just do that?
We'll send it to the board.
Right.
Are there more venues? Because they only this year, right? In the last couple of years, they only used two venues down in
Hmm.
Salt Lake City. So do they have additional theaters close by or
You
down
know,
there?
Even
I
if they
this
don't, the Ray's not at the real theater. Like it's
right.
half
Mm,
of the
true.
stuff at Park City is like built. All the
Right.
studios, like the Variety Studio, all those places are
Oh
like
yeah.
there and gone
Yeah.
in a week.
They let's just like mess with everyone's brain and just put the screenings at the other Eccles and cause all kinds of confusion. uh yeah, all right, well that's a great conversation. I guess I think my last thing that I'll say about that is whatever they announce, well, I think if they're going to announce leaving Utah, they should do it at the festival next year, not before the festival, because I was just thinking if they announce like next week, hey, next year's our last time at in Park City, oh my goodness, the demand for being
For
at
the
that festival
Oh my
will be
God, yeah.
insane. I like everyone's going to want to be there, whether you're attending the festival or not. Everyone's going to want to be in Park City for the last festival. So
Yeah.
like also Sundance, if you can again hear us, please wait till next year to
Hmm.
announce where you're going. Don't do it before the festival. You're going to price all of us out of Park City.
I'm not waiting more than 2 hours in line for a movie. I've done
Right.
2 hours, but like that's the most I will stand in line for a movie.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I'm like, I'm done. Y'all can have it. Y'all can fight for it.
The P and I
Exactly.
lines were pretty crazy this year.
I
They were,
stood in line for
yeah.
2 hours for If I Had Legs,
Yep.
and there was another one.
Lurker was the crazy one.
Lurker.
I saw. Ooh.
I
Yeah,
was in
that
line like an hour and 15 and I just got into Lurker. Like
yep,
Mm.
an hour and a half. I was
barely.
making sure I was getting in that screening.
It's interesting. I didn't know this until I went, like, you guys all had a badge that could be scanned. But for some of the films, I didn't have a comp ticket. I just bought a single.
Hmm.
And it didn't happen to me, but there were people behind me who like waited, say, an hour and had a ticket. And they get to the front of the line and they let in so many wait
Yeah.
lists that the theater's filled. So they don't let you in and they give you a voucher even though
Hmm.
you bought like a single ticket, which would like stand to reason that the person only could go see a few films, and it really felt like I felt for the this couple that were waiting all night for Together, and they were like the last people behind me, and I had seen them let in like so many people from the wait list. I was like, this is not a great
Yeah.
Hmm.
system, but I think they're just trying to make sure they sell every single ticket through the wait list badge,
Yeah, that's
um,
tough. Like every system has its flaws, and you try to fill these theaters because there's so much demand for these movies, but when you're spending $35 a ticket, you kind of
Hmm.
want to be at that movie, and they don't do it. Sundance does like no refunds, so
yeah, no,
they'll
not at
get you a
all.
voucher, like they'll give you the value, but if you are unlimited time or resources, it's kind of
Yeah.
unfortunate. So you have to plan accordingly.
Not
But
to off
Yeah,
track
there
us again. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
But yeah, speaking of people paying like $35 a ticket and not seeing a movie, let's look at films that got pulled from the virtual.
Oh, we're
Like
gonna get there.
Twinless,
We're
Selena.
gonna get
Like,
there. Yes,
okay.
we're gonna this is on my agenda because I have lots of thoughts about this. So look, we're gonna get there. But let's talk about some of the highlights, the highlighted films at Sundance, which are our award winners. The grand jury prize winners for the US dramatic competition, or for the US dramatic, was Atropia. US grand jury prize for documentary was for Seeds. um the grand jury prize for Wilton Dramatic went to Sabar Bonda. The grand jury prize for World Cinema Documentary went to Cutting
Cutting
Through
through.
Rocks. Yep,
Yeah.
I missed Cutting out of here. I was like, that's not the right title. The next Innovator Award went to Zodiac Killer Project. And then the Audience Awards. The Audience Awards for U.S. Documentary went to Andre is an Idiot. The Audience Award for World Cinema Dramatic went to DJ Ahmet. The audience award for World Cinema Documentary went to Prime Minister. The audience award for next category went to East of Wall. And the audience award for US Dramatic went to Twinless.
Hmm.
Now, let's discuss Twinless and the situation there. Um, Marty, you kind of led into this conversation. Let's start with your thoughts.
Yeah, so I was so like enamored by Twinless. Actually, I literally wrote it off when I first saw that it was like on the list. Because like I've enjoyed some of Dylan O'Brien's work. I enjoyed Pony Boy last year, and I feel like he's a decent actor, but he's just like one of those like Twitter white boys of the month kind of thing. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And then the night before I was supposed to see it, you saw it, and
Mhm.
you we're not the biggest fan. So I was like, whatever, dog on it, and it's fine. I'll see it in the morning. And because I went in with such low expectations, I think I had the biggest ball with it.
Yeah.
And the second I got home from the fest, I showed it to my partner. He loved it so much. He literally went up to every single person at work the next day and was like, I don't know when this movie is coming out. I don't know any like of this about it, but keep an eye out for this movie, Twinless. Twinless. Like literally, we went to the dog park today and he's telling everybody about fucking Twinless. And so I'm like, damn, he like really loved it. And
So
yeah,
really,
definitely.
really quick,
Oh,
I'll pause you so that I can explain and maybe convey the disappointment that everyone else felt from your excitement. So essentially, Twinless was always slated to screen online. So if you are in the United States, you can get a ticket for Twinless if they're available, and for $35 you can watch it at home. As is the case for a lot of their program. There's a select few films that are not available online, but a lot of the program is, and Twinless was a part of that, especially being an award winner. There is additional screenings added online. Well, some internet naughty
There were
accounts.
there were
Um,
piracy.
there is some
Yeah.
piracy issues. Dylan O'Brien is just one of those, kind of what you're saying, Marty. He is one of those people that just like has a following. He has a fan base. They just, like his aura. And I've seen this. Like Dakota Johnson has, when I type Dakota Johnson in Twitter, that tweet just takes off, right? And so Dylan O'Brien has a fan base like that. And there is at least one very, very steamy scene with Dylan O'Brien that these accounts just could not help but share, and that caused some copyright infringement that caused the festival to pull the movie from online availability, which is so disappointing for the rest of us people abiding by, ticket purchasing and copyright, restrictions, right? Like just watch the movie. So I was planning on ending the festival rewatching Twinless because I am like literally the only person who was not the biggest fan of this movie. So I wanted to give it a second try. But before I could get to the end of the festival, I think it was a Friday night that they pulled the movie. So
mhm.
sorry, Marty. That's the situation. You want to
Yeah.
finish your thoughts?
Yeah,
Uh,
they pulled it literally while I was watching it. I was watching it and I started just seeing all these like I saw the gifs on it like first thing in the morning and I was like, why is this online? Like literally why are like I was just seeing people tweeting like Dylan O'Brien gay strokes and I was like, what the fuck? And so I like search his name and then I just see the clips all over Twitter and I was like, what are we doing? And then I saw clips from Selena online. I saw clips from Plainclothes online. And I was just like, what are we doing? Like, I get like you've got the Stan accounts that are paying the $35
Mhm.
to see it. But like put your phone away. Like it's
Yeah,
not too hard to enjoy something and put your phone away. You don't have to take a picture of the title card or film a scene and post online for the likes. Like enjoy it. Tweet a little thing being like, "Oh my God, this scene is insane. I can't wait for everyone to see it." Like
yeah.
that's how you do it. That's how you are a respectful moviegoer.
yeah,
And
Unfortunately, not everyone's like
Marty.
that. Jonathan, you have thoughts? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if the way I heard it was about the actual in the theater. It was on the second or on the February 1st when the online went out. The majority of the films ended up on like
Mhm.
those like 1, 2, 3 movie accounts that we all might know, but won't say we watch movies at. And like from a distributor standpoint, like Twinless was just bought for like $12 million or something,
Yeah.
or $8 million. Um, like if it's gonna be seen and pirated and ripped like into oblivion, it's like has no value. I'm sure in that case, Sundance is gonna try and find, like we said, no returns. Like that's an extenuating circumstance, but
Hmm.
I feel like they have to get smarter about the online because it's too accessible for this to happen. Like
Hmm.
if you've ever gotten like a screener, like sometimes they'll like copyright your name into either the disc or like the file. So if you try and pirate it, like the FBI literally knows exactly who it started with. But
Yeah.
I don't think for films that are getting snatched up by like these kind of cult following production houses like Neon and A24, it's not really like a great window of opportunity for
Yeah.
them to keep it under wraps. Like I
There's
think
there's
even
definitely.
Tarantino's Hateful Eight script got leaked while
Mhm.
he was around the Sundance time through Sony. So like I feel like then always the reaction from a studio is to just yank back
Uh,
like far as they can.
yeah, and there's more that
But yeah,
happened over the
I didn't know if it
weekend.
was people in the theater that kind of prompted it because every screening I went to, everyone was very like respectful or the odd person who was just a slaver.
Alyssa, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, I, I don't know. I think it's really hard because we've gotten to a point. I mean, we saw it the last couple months, right, with Wicked coming out. It's like people have no self-control. Not everybody, but there are swaths of people who just are constantly having their phones out in theaters, you know. And so the fact that that's happening in a theater full of people, what I mean, I hate to say it, but what do we expect's going to happen when they're sitting at home by themselves, like with this movie? So I agree that some sort of watermarking would be better. I know at least for the P&I online, we did have watermarking
Hmm.
Yeah.
occasionally that would pop up. I don't know if it was the same for the public
I
online as
imagine it
well.
has to be. I imagine it has to be. I think Sundance has been very fortunate to be able to do this for as long as they have. Most festivals don't do online anymore. For security purposes and
Exactly.
also being able to watch movies in theaters. So and I put a statement out on the ForReel page, expressing how grateful we are that this is an option for us. But it's I think that it's so interesting when the pandemic happened and Sundance was online. I remember I remember watching Pleasure on Sundance Virtual. And I am
Mhm.
shocked. I'm actually legitimately shocked that that movie was not more pirated, because the amount of like p-hub that could have existed on. So
Mhm.
I don't know how they handled Pleasure, but I think the fact that they did allowed them to be able to do this for as long as they did. And it just so happens that this year we have a movie that is very popular, that has a very popular actor, that the internet wants to see more of. It just kind of came to a head this year with this movie, and I want to be optimistic about virtual access in the future. But when Train Dreams got pulled on Sunday, Netflix couldn't even let the festival roll through. Like, you guys are literally 13 hours from the end of the festival, and I think Train Dreams being pulled was a very big indicator that studios are now taking control of how Sundance is operating virtually, because Train Dreams being pulled was a power move, right? It was Netflix saying, "Hey, we don't, we've never wanted you guys to do this, but now that that situation's happened, we now want you to pull back on that." And I think that that's really going to affect how virtual happens going forward, if it happens going forward.
Did
Hmm.
they own it when it went to like online release? Because I
I'm
think they
trying.
pulled it right after they bought it.
It's possible. It's possible. I don't remember when
And
Netflix bought it. Does anyone know?
that's what I had thought. Like I saw the offer come out and then it came out and then I saw both Twinless got pulled. But I wanted to ask if anyone had known if Can had done online in the past because I was just like doing some of my registration and then they say this year they have like the majority of the slate online. So
Hmm.
I hadn't historically seen that festival offer that, and that's always one I've wanted. And so I'm curious if it's like maybe the festivals are in need of more income regardless, and online is the way to do that because streaming is king right now.
Oh, let me tell you, studios are not going to let online happen. Like studios looking at
No,
what
I,
happened
I
at Sundance.
understand.
Yeah, the studios looking at what happened at and this is the thing, like festivals are so dependent on these sales happening and these and these movies going to distributors
Hear
that,
you.
I think that they had Sundance particularly probably had an upper hand where it's like, this is our contract, this is what it's going to be. You have to live by these terms and conditions if you want these movies because I have never seen them pull a film like this. And so once they did, I think that was kind of the slippery slope that led to what happened with Train Dreams and I think is going to affect the festival going forward.
I think it's slated for release in March though.
Well,
Like,
good because oh wait, Twinless or Train Dreams?
Train Dreams,
Train
like
Dreams,
Netflix has
yes.
it coming out like real quick. So,
We'll be talking about that a little bit later
mhm.
on. Let's have some fun conversation here. I I so I had asked if we have if we could create an award because we're talking about Sundance Awards right now. If we could create an award that any movie at the festival could qualify for, what would that award be? Who would be the nominees and who would win? Mine, this was just kind of funny because I had just watched Bubble and Squeak. And it reminded me when there's a point in there that there's a dance sequence. So it reminded me that there's actually a few dance sequences at Sundance. So my category was the Best Unexpected Dance Sequence Award. And my nominees were by design, because I loved that movie so much more than a lot of people did. But there is some like I don't know if it's interpretive dance, but just kind of this dance around the chair.
Mhm.
Bubble and Squeak, where Himesh Patel and Sarah Goldberg have a spontaneous dance like sequence towards the end. And Touch Me, where Lou Taylor Pucci just kind of dances for fun, I guess. And I gave the award to Touch Me. It's just such an absurd film that if you're not expecting a dance sequence and then you see it happen in Touch Me, it's like I'm with it. Why not? This is great. And Lou is such a character actor in that movie. Like he is so bought into it and just so invested into it. And I had a chance to talk with him on the red carpet where he was talking about those dance sequences and how much fun he had with them. So that's where my award goes to. Touch Me gets the award for best unexpected dance sequence from me. So Marty, tell us about your award.
My award is about the messiest, most chaotic friend groups of films in the festival. And I don't know, I love a group of people that bring out the I don't want to say the worst in each other, but definitely bring out the chaos in each other. My nominations were for the French Canadian film Two Women. It's about two neighbors basically convincing each other to start cheating on their husbands and just act crazy.
Is that
And
what that movie's about? Oh,
yeah,
I wish I
it
had
is
watched it now.
iconic. It's so good. And it has the lead actress from Red Rooms, and she's great. She causes a lot of drama as well. Um, they were pretty chaotic. The friend group from Oh Hi is chaotic as well. Imagine you get a call from your best friend and she's locked up her boyfriend to a bed, and you're deciding, should we kill him or should we let him go? And your friends to stay and actually help you with it, like those are ride or dies. And then you've got Wedding Banquet. You've got two queer friend groups, and they are trying their best to help each other and get a green card and um, always constantly fighting and yelling at each other. And I loved them. So I think I do have to give it to Wedding Banquet just because they're
Nice.
so messy. You would be like, oh, everything is working out, everything is going good. And then, of course, the two fuck ups have to fuck up and just piss you off and cause a fight. And I don't know, something about their friend group. Everyone loves each other, but they're so messy. They're so
Ah,
messy.
Marty, this is why I love having you a part because you named three movies that I missed, and now I need to go watch all three of them because this sounds so entertaining.
Oh, all iconic. You will enjoy every last one.
Yes, perfect. Jonathan, what was your award?
I had to just pull it up. Here we go. the best use of chaos to make you question your life choices award.
I just say I
So
love how specific that category is. It's great.
it was all those midnight shows that those were
Ah.
the ones that had me walking home at 2 in the morning questioning my life. Yeah. Number one, I nominated Magic Farm with Chloe Sevigny. It's I like movies about kind of making movies or making films, so that one always was on my radar. But uh, the it's kind of hilarious. It's a really weird take on the human condition through a very seasoned actress, and I couldn't really put together any of their justifications for the way that they were living. So that was definitely why I had it on the list. Number two was one of my favorite films of the festival, not like maybe in a very prestigious way, but like it was just a very fun film, and that was together with Dave Franco and Alison Brie. They took a page out of the Substances book on this one, and it's about how codependence in relationship, when mixed with a horror writer, can be very, very, very fun. It was really creepy, and it didn't really have many supporting cast outside of them, and they really carried this one home. And I'm really happy I didn't see it with any significant other because that would have been more more difficult. And then Plainclothes was just really one of my favorite films of the festival. Carmen Emmy did a great job. I really loved the like shifting formats and the different like you could feel the anxiety that Tom Blythe's character is feeling, and like it just really had you on the edge of your seat. And it's not even that long of a movie, but like it just had such a come to Jesus moment at the end that
Mm,
like it doesn't really even matter what your problem is, it just is impacted by that Italian family's like stress. And I come from like a Greek family, so that one is definitely my award winner. Yeah,
yeah.
I like this segment. It's definitely a good way to dissect these films.
Isn't it? Alyssa,
Yeah.
I didn't give you enough time to come up with a question of your own or an award of your own, but weigh in. What do you think about about our choices?
I think they're good. I like the especially the messy friend group one. I definitely agree with that one. Actually, listening to you guys, it made me think of a potential category,
Yeah,
but
let's
it's
go.
moving. It's using some of the ones you guys already offered,
Go
but
Yeah.
for it.
we had a lot of remakes this year, so maybe best
Mm,
remake at the
okay.
festival.
Interesting.
Um, I'll admit that I haven't seen the original of any of these, but the Wedding Banquet is a remake of a 1993 film. Kiss of the Spider Woman is a
Mhm.
remake of the 1985 film. And then Two Women is actually a remake
Oh,
of a
very
movie
good.
called Two Women in Gold.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, sure.
And
Yep.
so we've got a lot of remakes. I don't know if you guys have seen the originals of any of
Nope.
those or
I'm
to
actually
compare.
I'm actually
So
Not their
a
fans.
little disturbed that we're remaking 90s films now.
Mm.
90s still seems pretty close. Like we shouldn't be remaking those just yet, but that's also just me like denying my age. So
I've seen the original Spider-Woman, but I haven't seen any of the other originals.
mm,
yeah, so who's your winner for best remake?
for me, it's hard to say because I haven't seen the originals. I guess
Well, which one
of
did you
the
enjoy most?
probably the Wedding Banquet. That was a lot more fun than I expected. I kind of went in just being like, "Oh, it's gonna be this like romantic comedy, whatever," and it was much more enjoyable than I had anticipated. So I was really glad I prioritized getting into that line instead of one of the others that were simultaneously showing.
Hmm.
That's
I heard the
awesome.
original Wedding Banquet is not really funny at all and a lot more like pull on your heartstrings, like just dramatic and like hurts your
Mm.
heart in the end. So I'm like, do I need to see the original? Like, and it's like the remake is so funny, it's so good. It's comes out like right before my birthday, and so I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go see it in theaters like three more times.
Yeah,
And
there you
the
go.
original Kiss of the Spider Woman is much more serious as well, right? Because this one,
Yeah.
the remake here, introduces this whole musical element
Hmm.
to it that, from my understanding, wasn't in the original.
Hmm.
No.
So
Interesting. Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, Kiss of the Spider Woman, I don't know specifically the iterations that it's gone through, but wasn't it it was a movie, was it adapted to a play? I'm pretty sure
It
it was a
was a
play.
yeah,
movie adapted to the musical, and
Uh-huh.
then now it's this. I don't think it
it was
I
a
think
book first, wasn't it? Or am I making that up?
Oh,
I
I
think it
know
might have been a book as
I know
well.
it's gone through a bunch. It should have came out the year Color Purple came out. Because that we're in an era where we're like remaking the remakes that were adapted from remakes, you know?
there's a 30 Rock joke about it somewhere where it's just like um she's like, Liz, I won the award for best movie into a movie musical or something. And like then Mean Girls, the musical, the movie, whatever came out, and now I feel like it's gonna start a trend and we're gonna get
Hmm.
Spider-Woman, and there's gonna, next thing we know, we're gonna get Legally Blonde, the musical, the
Yeah.
movie, and it's gonna keep happening.
I want it to be called the musical, the movie. Like that
Mhm.
let's just like own it, right?
So
Uh,
I just looked. Kiss of the Spider Woman was a novel. So it was a novel, then made into a play, a stage play, and then made into a film, then the musical, and now the musical film.
entertainment, guys, that's the business. Oh man. Okay, let's talk about events and like the filmmaker lodge stuff. Did you guys do any like filmmaker lodge things this year?
I went to a bunch of
Uh,
them just because I was there for the first time. I wanted to try and uh,
Yeah.
take advantage of everything.
I will say I did it wasn't at the Filmmakers Lodge, but I did the Power of Story on Success because I like never feel successful. I needed a little bit of like therapy from Daniel Kaluuya and Celine Song and
Mhm.
company. And it was really interesting. It was really like really insightful. And I think that what I liked most about it was that it felt very, I don't know if impromptu is the right word, but it felt very like in the moment. It didn't feel like rehearsed, like, hey, we want you guys to say these things and we need you to highlight these things. They were asked questions and they would pause and they would but then they would eventually come to like some really interesting statement
Mhm.
by the end of their segments. And yeah, it was just such an interesting set. And I'm so happy that I went. It was a really great way to kind of end my Sundance experience. So, Jonathan, what was your experience at the lodge?
I went to a lot of them. So I went to the one that was probably an hour before the Power of Story, and that was with it was called Fresh Faces. It was with all the first-time directors or writers in the festival. So it had Eva from Sorry Baby, the director of Love Brooklyn, and the co-lead and writer of playing Lurker. I'm gonna forget his name, Thomas.
Oh yeah, what
Uh,
is his name? Yeah.
anyway, they had a lot of and
Alex Russell from Lurker.
yeah, so that one was interesting. They had another one that was Elijah Wood talking about Rabbit Trap, and he recorded a podcast like in the Filmmaker Lodge, and they were cool, but a lot of them were stacked. Like, so if I wanted to go to the Power of Story, I couldn't have hit both because they're lined up one to two, two to three, and they're not in the same location, and you're not getting in like a minute before, regardless. So I got to as many of them as I can, or as I could. I will say I did a lot of work in the Filmmaker Lodge. Like, I didn't want to like get off Main Street if I didn't need to, so I would work in up there, and I made like more connections than I thought I was going to. I would say compared to the New York festivals or other cities I've been to, Sundance had the most open community, welcoming people, eager to network, things like that. So
Yeah, Sundance is
that
great for that. I love
mhm,
like ever since my first Sundance, I've always recognized that people who attend Sundance are so open and willing to connect and willing to network and like and it's just such a welcoming environment, especially in such a intimidating industry. So
mhm.
that's pretty awesome. So, well, I appreciate you sharing that. I definitely encourage people to do those things. I know it's kind of tough when you have limited time and resources and you have to get some movies or you have your priorities, but yeah, those talks are actually quite informative and really entertaining and worth
Yeah.
checking out at least once at the festival. So, you know what else is worth checking out? Um, no, actually, guys, this whiskey is actually really good. So it's interesting because um it's a fruity, cinnamony whiskey. And it's different because like you know how Crown Royal has a lot of like flavors of Crown Royal. I think that when you flavor whiskey, it can get kind of syrupy and be more like a mixer or a liqueur than than a whiskey. But this one is it tastes so naturally flavored. It doesn't have that syrupiness to it. It's just like I when I first sipped it at the beginning of this episode, I was like, wow, there's fruit and there's cinnamon and it is whiskey. And I love it. Y'all, I'm gonna be making so many different cocktails with this. It's gonna be great.
Mhm.
Um, so so yes,
We've got to
really
stay in
enjoying
Park
this.
City so you can get that whiskey over and over
I
again.
know, right? We have to stay, this is why I'm still voting for Park City and Utah and keeping everything in Utah. That'd be great. While I'm mentioning things, let me just mention how to support and follow For Real. You can follow us on social media at This Is For Real on most platforms. You can also go to our website, thisisforreal.com. Of course, For Real spelled FORREEL. Jonathan, tell us really quick about the cinema group.
Yeah, no, you can follow the cinema group on most social platforms at the cinema group, all one word. And you can follow up with our reviews and entertainment news on our website at thecinemagroup.co, no M, just thecinemagroup.co. And yeah, also, since we're here, Letterboxd is definitely a good place to check for all four of us.
Alyssa, tell people about Mainly, which I love your title, by the way. Your name, like it is so
Thank
perfect. So tell everyone about Mainly Movies real quick.
Yeah, so Mainly Movies got lots of reviews and film recommendations and all sorts of film related content. So primarily on YouTube at Mainly Movies. So that's spelled Mainely movies because I live in Maine, the state of Maine. So,
Mhm.
and you can also find me on all of the social media as well at Mainly Movies. So Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Letterboxd, everything.
Very cool. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this conversation now. Let's talk about our top three films. I'll kick this one off with probably the most depressing movie of the bunch. Um, so my number three film ended up being Omaha. It was also the movie that I started the festival with. So this is my very first film in Park City. And I had really high hopes for this one. I think Cole Webley, I liked his background coming from, of course, Washington State. But he filmed a lot of this movie in Utah, and so there's a lot of like background information that really appealed to me with this movie. But essentially, it's about a dad who goes on a road trip, and I hate to explain it that way, because I don't think that really captures the film. But there's the he takes his two
They're on
kids
Exodus. How about
on an
that?
exodus. That's a much better word. He and his two kids go on an exodus, and their dog go on an exodus, and the daughter eventually starts piecing together what the purpose of this exodus is. I'm not going to say much more than that, and I'm not entirely sure how they're going to market this movie without giving away kind of the heartbreaking component of it. But what I will say is that just like experiencing this movie in a theater and like unraveling what's happening as the movie is going. Man, I tell people, I have to warn people, this movie doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your heart twice.
Mhm.
Um, and so just be prepared for that. There is lots of sniffling, lots of tears in the theater. But I think it's so well crafted as a film. I think it is beautifully shot. It has a wonderful like landscape cinematography throughout the film. I think the performances are incredible, not just from John Magaro, who is fantastic here. It's a really nice follow up to Past Lives. Um, fantastic performance for him, but even the kids just like do so great in this movie. And I think that there's something to really take away from this movie when it comes to people in this situation and the difficulty of fatherhood, especially with mental illness. And so there's a lot to really gravitate to in this film and really like latch onto as far as the themes that it's conveying. And I for the start of the festival, it's a little sad, but also just so well made and so well executed. I started the festival with Omaha, and it just continued being one of my favorite movies of the festival. Other thoughts about Omaha?
The younger actress Molly, like her performance is really what sold the movie for me. Because at first I was just like, I don't know, you can kind of see where we're going. And I was just like, oh, this is gonna like, and everyone's talked about how painful and like how emotional the movie is. And I was like, I know where this is going. I don't. And then her performance would just like pull me back in and be like, I would try to distance myself. And she was just so good. I haven't seen a child do a performance that good since what's his name? Justin something who did The Room. Like that little kid in the
Yeah.
room. Like this girl was so good. I see a very, very bright future for her.
Not only is she so good, but I got to interview her on the red carpet, and whoever her PR rep is, she is so like dialed in and so well spoken, so articulate. So even like live in person, she just has this very charming personality.
Oh,
So,
awesome.
any other thoughts on Omaha? Did you get?
I
Yeah.
uh I didn't like it quite as much as you did. But I agree that the I thought both of the kids were pretty good, but especially
Mhm.
Molly was very good. Um I it's a tough one because like you kind of mentioned it's sort of you know where it's going pretty early on. I think it tips its
Mhm.
hand very early. And I don't know, like John Magaro, he gave a good performance, but his is a character that I personally like found completely unsympathetic. Like he was not. I don't know. I
Mm.
didn't particularly. I mean, I don't think we're supposed to like him necessarily, but I thought he just the way he kind of handled certain situations repeatedly
Hmm.
in the movie kind of made it hard to care other than the kids, right? When it
Mhm.
would focus on them and their responses to various things, that's when it really it pulls at the heartstrings with that one. But otherwise, it wasn't one of my favorites. But I know a lot of people liked it, and I'm happy
Mm.
you did as well.
Just really quick, did anyone else find the parallels between like this and After Sun? Did anyone like
Yeah.
recognize that?
Now that you said it, I didn't originally, but now that
Yeah.
you said it, I can see that. I just see like Omaha was such a good film technically and just through acting, and so was so many of these films, which makes it really hard for I guess us to have to write a review of it because like yeah, maybe it
Mhm.
wasn't my favorite film of the festival, but I can recognize how like well that would stack up against half of the releases that come out on streaming and or in the theater these days. And Sundance this year, I'd just say like everyone really was around kind of that similar range. But
Mhm.
I think if there were similar or the themes were very in line for a lot
Mhm.
of them, which made this even harder.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Good input there. Marty, we're gonna move over to you and your number three, which we kind of mentioned already, but let's talk a little bit more about it. What's your number three?
I will praise Wedding Banquet 24/7 if I have to. I will be their what is it? Like their Twitter rep.
Ambassador.
Yeah, exactly. I will be pushing this movie. The trailer literally came out like right as we were going in the P&I, so I like watched it when I was in line for my next movie after, and I was like, they did such a good job at marketing this, not giving too much away, and like, it really does such a good job. It's such a good ensemble cast, and I really enjoyed writer-director Andrew On's first film, Fire Island, and um, you see Bowen Yang on SNL, and you're just like, yeah, he's funny, but like you forget that like he's an actor, like he can
Mhm.
fucking act, you know? And you see him in a performance like this, and it just like takes you places. And I'm just like, wow, like just having that connection with Andrew really helps him shine, and it makes me excited for where we will see his career go within the next decade. Um, I thought all the performances were fantastic. I think this is like Kelly's first leading performance, and she ate it down, and I was so happy for her in that regard. Um, the my only gripe with Wedding Banquet is I feel like Lily Gladstone's character is kind of sidelined a bit, but if you're like looking at the film, like you can see that these other three characters, especially Kelly and Bowen's character, are like the main two. So of course, like the other two are going to be sidelined a little bit, and the reason Bowen's partner is kind of more integral in the story because him needing the green card is kind of the
Mhm.
thing that gets the ball rolling in this film. So, of course, like Lily's kind of goes to the side a bit, but I don't know. I feel like the character dynamics between everyone was really good. I felt like the production design, like these are queer people. These are real character, like humans. Like you don't just feel like this is a stereotype or this is a character, because so many of these people could so easily be this flat two-dimensional, especially the mother or the grandmother character, and everyone is so well developed. And yeah, I'm trying not to say too much because I just want you to like go in and experience this movie. And the writing is great. It's very meta and it pulls into like makes little Star Wars joke or Wicked joke here and there because like you've got your well-known actors, but yeah, it's phenomenal.
That's awesome. I unfortunately missed the wedding banquet. So, any other thoughts on this one?
Uh, I also loved it, and just to kind of further your sentiment, I think all the films, there were like 10 films that came out at New Fest this year. Like New Fest is the New York LGBTQ film festival that was only a few months before Sundance. And I think 10 of them ended up uh, at Sundance this year, and like kind of the crown jewel of that was Wedding Banquet. And I didn't get to see it back when it was in New York, and but I did get to hear Bowen Yang like talk about it in a like kind of similar chat style event, and I was really really excited for it. So it was at the top of my list when I got into Park City, and I was not disappointed at all.
That's awesome. Alyssa, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just reiterating what I said earlier when we were talking about the remakes. Like this one just surprised me. I hadn't seen and I still haven't seen the original, and I just kind of wasn't expecting much. I was just like, oh, it's a romantic comedy. It'll be kind of a nice, fluffy kind of movie in the midst of all the heavy, dense stuff that we are subjected to during the course of Sundance. And it was that, but it also, it has some emotional stuff. It's not just a throwaway romantic comedy, but I think it's going to be a big one. I think it's going to be kind of this year's big romantic comedy that sort of takes theaters by storm.
I am so happy to hear when comedies are good. We don't get that too often anymore. So I'm very happy to hear this. Lily Gladstone is also someone I really respect. This Seattle Film Critics Society gave her our honorary John Hartle Award for impact on film and cinema from a local um, uh, person in the industry. So I was able to hear her speak here in Seattle last year. I think it was last year when she got that award, and we watched Fancy Dance, which was another Sundance film. So I'm really happy for her and her career and being in this, and I'm happy to just. I hate that I missed it. We only have so much time that we can watch movies, so
Two
I'm
more
glad
months and 2 more months, and you'll be able to enjoy it, Thomas.
I shall. Yes, I look forward to it. So, all right, Jonathan, let's talk about your number three. What was your number three favorite film of the festival?
Um, I think I had, what did I have?
Oh, don't forget, I want to talk about this.
No, I got them. I'm pulling them up right now. I had Lurker as my number three. I really enjoyed that film, and I almost kind of had too close of a I felt like a kinship to that film
Uh-oh.
because like that toxicity of wanting to belong, but like it can definitely go to a place with people who really aren't uh, of any substance to you. So I don't know. I also had like a personal connection to it. A friend of mine was the first AD on it, and it just it the ending like was everything I wanted it to be, and I'm not gonna spoil it here because it was just too good. It just it was really interesting, and I got to like learn a little bit more about it at one of the cinema cafes when the co-star and writer was speaking about it, and it's just it seemed like a real labor of love that delivered, and it's not like a big production. It was really a small crew who were able to build a really interesting story that kind of came home in a really cool way. Number two, I
Oh, hold
had
on, we'll get there.
like,
We'll get there in a moment.
oh,
We'll
I
get there.
apologize. Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, we're good. We have to build up the
Oh,
suspense.
right. You know what? I get spaced sometimes,
No,
and
you're
I'm
good.
three
You're good.
hours later than both. Than all you got it
All good.
on
Alyssa, what
the.
do you think about a lurker?
I liked Lurker quite a bit. That was another one that, like, going in, I was looking forward to it, but the basic premise was kind of like, okay, well, like, we've kind of seen these sort of toxic things before. Where are they going to go with it? But I found it to be very tense. There are definitely some moments of unpredictability, some moments of kind of just like, what is happening? But it kind of, it works its way under your skin, and it's really, really energetic and entertaining, and you can kind of, it's interesting sort of looking at the power dynamics and the way people use each other in different kinds of ways, and it was just a wholly interesting kind of film for me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Marty, your thoughts?
Um, Lurker was surprisingly one of my least favorites of the festival. I think I'm fairly alone on that island. I saw it at the premiere actually, and
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping that the Q&A afterwards would like
Oh, that's
pull
right.
me over to it, and sadly it didn't. And I really like all the actors. I thought they had amazing performances, but I've seen this movie done in like so many different iterations before, and it just felt like they were like picking and choosing from all these different ones, and I like you could just see, at least for me, I am like, okay, this is where it's gonna go next. This is where
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna go next. This is, and I was just waiting for that moment where it like shocked me, and it never got there for me. And I thought Havana's character was so interesting, and I wanted her to kind of have a bigger role, and then kind of the last 20 minutes she just disappears and we don't see her again until the final scene. And I was just like, I don't know, it felt like a film that had so much potential there because it had such star power. And for me at least, it just um, the anxiety, the thriller aspect of it just never got under my skin, I guess, the way it has with other people.
That's fair. That's fair. I managed to get into the press screening, the really hard to get into press screening for this one. Um, and Twinless was my number one most anticipated film. Lurker was my number two. And you know what's interesting? We make a couple comparisons in Lurker. The first one, which I think most people will agree with, is that it is very much a variation of like Saltburn. Like as soon as I got out of that movie, I was like, a
Yeah.
better to me a better version of Saltburn, because I think with Saltburn I liked the first half, but it kind of flubbed the ending for me. And I think that different people have different thoughts about how Saltburn ended, but I think with Lurker it ended in a way that I was happy with, and obviously everyone should make movies that make me happy, right? But I appreciated kind of where it went and what it did with this whole toxicity thing and power dynamics. But the other movie that I'm gonna compare it to, and maybe we can talk about it a little bit later, is actually a movie that I didn't care for as much, which is Twinless. I think that there is a romantic nature to it, that I think did that aspect of character relationships, in my opinion, better than Twinless. I think the toxicity made more sense to me in Lurker, and I think that you have that female character who's kind of figuring out what's not right with this situation. So I think there are a lot of parallels to Twinless. And after I had seen Twinless and it didn't really hit what I was hoping for it to be, because again, make movies that make me happy, guys. No, because Twinless didn't quite hit what I was looking for out of it, I went into Lurker, and I think that part of why I enjoyed it so much was because it did satisfy some things for me that Twinless didn't.
Mhm.
So I kind of had that revelation and that experience while watching Lurker, and that's just is going to be entirely unique to me. So I have to figure out how to like put that in a review, like, you know. So, um, but good number three pick. I was excited to talk about that one. Alyssa, I have your number three pick in here. Are you looking at the notes? I don't know if you're looking at the notes.
Yeah, I
Okay, cool.
saw. So,
So I have your number three in here. What was your number three?
so my number three. So just I had a lot of overlap with these guys, and I came on at the end. So they have a lot of movies that I probably would put a little higher than some of these. But my number three here is going to be The Perfect Neighbor. And so
Mhm.
that is a documentary. So I don't know if you guys have other documentaries on yours. And
We
I don't know if
don't,
you
so I'm
guys saw
happy.
many. Um,
Actually, there are a lot of great documentaries, but there are just
Yeah.
also a lot of really great movies, and so
yeah,
I'd like trying to get my top 10 has been a really big challenge because I want documentaries to be in there. But
yeah.
there are just a lot of solid movies. But anyway, Perfect Neighbor.
So Perfect Neighbor is a very intense movie. Um, it tells a story of basically this situation in a neighborhood and this escalation of this situation. So there's a neighbor who, she's kind of like the the classic Karen kind of person who is constantly upset with the neighbor kids kind of playing in the lot next to where she lives, even though she doesn't own the property. And so there's this kind of constant over the course of years issue with her being quite mean and cruel and vulgar towards these kids, and the parents kind of trying to get involved, trying to protect the kids, trying to make sure that there's not going to be an issue. And so this woman repeatedly would call the police over it. And so this film, right, tells a story of it kind of sets the stage of what happened leading up to an event that I'm not gonna spoil, but if people have seen the news, you probably will remember this unfortunate incident. But the story is told almost exclusively through body cam footage, because the police were called to this location and to these scenarios so many times. There are literally years of body cam footage of this neighbor and the kids and interviewing and just kind of talking with witnesses. So lots of body cam footage, really intense, including the big incident. But then there's also kind of CCTV footage, interview footage from police stations and stuff. And so it's this really it's a horrifying kind of look into this situation. It's really harrowing. It's infuriating. This took place in Florida, and so it's focusing on kind of the issue of the stand your ground laws there, which make it so that if there's fear involved, you're allowed to basically shoot with no questions if you can establish that you were fearing for your life. And so it's kind of this intense look at that, and it's very upsetting. It's very sad and just just intense.
Yeah, yeah, this is a good pick. Marty, did you have a chance to see this one?
Yes, it was one of the first movies I watched when I got home, and it was the most upsetting watch for me
Mhm.
out of the entire festival, I think. Just because, like, as a kid, you just want to have fun. You want to be playful. You don't want to have to worry like that the smallest thing you can do will set off this crazy person across the street. Especially because like too it starts and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna move. These kids are always on my nerves. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move." And then she's there for years and years, and it's like if I was this upset by my neighbors, I would leave and not cause a situation like this. Like you just see it and it's like so easily avoidable. Like, and honestly, if I was the landlord, I would have evicted her years prior.
Mhm.
Just because of all the complaints and you see it happening. And I'm not a person who likes cops at all, but you just see how they are so exhausted by this woman and are just like they're like, yeah, nothing we can do, nothing we can do. But it's like they have to show up for every single call, and they're just as annoyed with the situation as we are. But like cops do, nothing I can do. Like, uh,
Yeah, that's such I didn't know what to do with this movie because it's like what do we learn from this? Um and I every the parents in that neighborhood did everything they were supposed to. The kids in that neighborhood were just being kids. There was never, it's not anything so outlandish that, oh, there should be some repercussions. No, it's really just this woman that, is just complaining, which I guess is her right to do, but like, girl, chill.
Move
And it
away from a
move
busy neighborhood full of kids if you don't want to be around them. Like it's that
right.
simple. Like
And the thing that really baffles me the most about this movie is the time period that it takes place over. Like if this whole situation happened in the course of like 6 months, it'd be like, wow, this is a really unfortunate situation. But over the course of years, like, okay, something has to be done in that time. Like, what can we implement to make sure this doesn't happen again? And I honestly don't know. The documentary isn't necessarily here to give answers. It's really just showing how unfortunate and how malicious a person can be unnecessarily, like, girl, just move. Jonathan, did you get the chance to see The Perfect Neighbor?
Yeah, I saw it before the festival. They had an early screening with Andre's an Idiot in New York, and yeah, I feel the same. It was just kind of uh, I know a lot of people like that in like the suburbs. They're not actually upset about what they're screaming about. It's either a
Mhm.
loneliness or a some sort of hole in them that they like focus on something super specific and yeah, like I've lived in apartment buildings my whole life. Like I've had neighbors like that, and I know women like that they're always angry, but really like they want a hug or something. And
Mhm.
it's like twisted, but once you get like so inundated by like the drama of it, there's no going back to like seeing that person as a like sympathetic human anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah, I I think it was an interesting kind of look at a character study at least.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, good number two pick or number three pick. I'm happy that we have some docs in this lineup. Let's move this next round fairly quickly. So my number two pick was one that got pulled from online screening, unfortunately. And that was Train Dreams. Um, this was directed by Clint Bentley, co-written by Clint Bentley and Greg Quidar. And I just had so many high expectations for this because I remember when Clint premiered Jockey at Sundance, which was one of the highlights of that year as a feature directorial debut. And so they also he and Greg went on to make Sing Sing, which has had a fantastic year. I don't know if it's going to be fantastic enough to get the Oscar. Or did I'm sorry, did
Nominated,
he
yeah.
didn't even get nominated, did he? Um,
Coleman's
Coleman.
nominated.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Well, I hope that's I'm really pulling for that guy because I would love
He
for him to
gets
have an
nominated for
Oscar.
writing too.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. Okay, well,
Yeah.
this is how focused I've been on Sundance is that the Oscars are like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, those nominations happened. I should pay more attention to that. Anyway, this movie, the what I put in my Twitter reaction is Train Dreams. It's beautiful from every angle. Like this is just a gorgeous film. Like the visuals, just stunning. Lots of like sun glare and very vibrant, and a very Pacific Northwest based, which of course I appreciate. Very familiar space for me. Um, I think that just the narration, the dialogue, the script, gorgeous, fantastic performances. Like every aspect of this movie is just beautiful. And then you get to the end, and it just has this like rapturous, like you know, just like because it's a tragic story, but it ends on such a satisfying note. Like I want to watch it again. I want to watch it again. So, I love this movie. It's my number two pick. Any other thoughts on Train Dreams?
I thought it was beautiful. It felt like a Terrence Malick film, and
Mm-hmm.
I thought Felicity Jones was fantastic with her small performance. I'm loving her coming into these Americana um,
Mm-hmm.
original like American films and coming in with these very small but powerful performances with this and The Brutalist. And there was just so much to love about Train Dreams. I went in literally with zero knowledge whatsoever, and it was so beautiful. And I'm watching and I'm like, oh God, like this would be so good on the big screen.
Yeah.
I think like 2 hours after I finished, I saw that it was bought by Netflix, and I was like, "Oh, what a shame." What?
Yeah, we always have to come to terms with that when Netflix picks up a movie that we really think should be in theaters. Maybe
It
they'll listen
might.
to us sometime.
If they want it for awards, it's gotta. So
That is true. That is true, and I hope that they do because there's a lot of technical awards this could go up for. I mean, if it has the legs, I would love to see it get a Best Picture nomination. I mean, we're still very early on in the year,
yeah.
but that would be super cool. Um, Alyssa, do you have any thoughts about Train Dreams?
I didn't get a chance to see it because it got pulled.
Because it got pulled.
And so
I'm
I
so
had it.
sorry.
It got pulled the day I was gonna watch it. I was gonna watch it when I got back from my last like theatrical screening, and then
Yeah,
actually when I was sitting waiting for that to start, you were sending me messages, and you're like,
yeah.
"Train Dreams got pulled." I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me?" Like I was just gonna watch that in like a few hours, but
It's so unfortunate because like with Twinless, we had a ForReel team member who wanted to make it his last film of the festival. And I think a lot of us had really high hopes for these great films being like the ones that we end on, and they just get pulled. So that's unfortunate, but alas.
at least it's coming in. Like you guys said, it was March or something, so at least
That's
for
right.
this one, don't have to
Yeah.
wait too long. But still.
Yeah, Jonathan, any last thoughts on Train Dreams?
Yeah, no, I really I've always liked Joel Edgerton, and like I've been waiting for a really great performance out of him since like Animal Kingdom, to be honest, like which is really super specific. But yeah, I think he's been typecast for a really long time, and I liked seeing him in a really stylistically beautiful film that he got to kind of steer the ship on. So.
Hmm.
I'm excited to see it again. Yeah, I saw it in the theater.
Nice.
I was lucky enough to get into one of the later screenings. and it was gorgeous, and the entire like you know when you're in a theater and like you can feel that everyone's paying attention, like even well, you're not actually looking, but like you could just feel
Hmm.
that energy around the time like the lights kind of come up. It definitely just had that feel of it, and those are always special moments. So yeah, definitely a
Yeah,
great one.
absolutely. Um, Very cool. All right, Marty, let's get into it. What's your number two?
Uh, Gotta bring up Twinless
Of course you
again
do.
and again. Um, I think it was within like the first 10 minutes of the movie. They're at the support group, and the woman leading it is talking about her twin sister, Claire. And she says, Claire got chlamydia without me. Claire's the one with chlamydia. I was so upset when Claire got chlamydia. We were supposed to do everything together. And I was laughing so hard. I
No, that
was
was
like,
great.
this movie is going to be for me. This movie I know is going to be for me. And the comedy just kept hitting and hitting and hitting. And the story was getting more uncomfortable and more tense and still remaining just as silly and stupid the entire time. And so I just kept waiting for them to make a wrong turn, to fuck up, to do something that I was like, oh, I don't like this direction. And it just never went there. And the cinematography is fabulous because we're dealing with this twin situation, the amount that we use of mirrors,
Mhm.
reflections, one scene where we're kind of getting this like zoom through like a like doorway. I don't know how to describe that, but like it was so well done. And there's even like a split screen at a party too, in the way
Yeah.
like connects and disconnects and then comes back together. Oh wow, like there's so much good with that movie. And the like most surprising performance, like Dylan is amazing, and I'm glad he's getting this praise. But what's her name? Let me see. Um, uh, is
Oh, was
it?
it Lauren Graham?
Yeah, Lauren Graham. She is phenomenal in this movie. Oh my
Oh
God.
wait,
Like,
sorry, hold on. The Lauren Graham, hold on, because you're
it's
talking about
Yeah,
the
from Gilmore
yeah.
Girls. Yeah.
Is it
so
Elise
so
the Irish the Italian Irish one? She was in like Game of Thrones and stuff, and um, she's the best friend character or the receptionist. I'm trying to remember.
right. So Asling,
Ashling
um
Smith. Yes.
can't pronounce her last name,
She,
but yeah, she's
she
the receptionist who like starts figuring things out. Yes.
She is phenomenal. The way that they build her character is one for the fucking books. Because, like, she's just so easily written off in the beginning, and you just see the development of her. You see, like, the world building inside her and how strong and smart of a character she is, and getting to, like, learn that bit by bit by bit for just such a throwaway character is so smart. And
Mhm.
I really, really appreciated that with her.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the tipping point that made me go like full 5 stars with it. Just like there was so much good about Twinless, but that supporting performance really, really like I give it all the tens, give it everything.
I'm gonna very quickly defend myself, and nobody's gonna agree with me, which is fine. But I it's so interesting because when we talk about Twinless, there are components of it that I get like this excited about. Talking about that supporting actor role that she had, yes, that was fantastic. Talking about the comedy, yes, that was fantastic. What I will say is for the first like 15, 20 minutes of the film, I was with it. I'm like, yes, this is what I came for. I am all about it. Just the opening sequence with at the
Fighters.
graveyard where they have the people trying to like send condolences to Dylan O'Brien's character. And it's just so dark comedy. And I'm here for it, right? I'm here for the dark comedy. I'm here for the relationship building. It's I just don't think I was ready for what happened after the title card.
Yeah.
Um, and when the title card happened and the bait and switch happened, I just like fell entirely out of this movie. And that's going to be a very unique experience to me, unfortunately. And I think that now that I've had conversations with people and I've kind of reassessed what I should expect from this movie, if I'd been able to give it a second watch, I think my rating would have gone up. It wouldn't be 5 stars, but it would have gone up. But I think that for me, I wish that the premise had allowed for more character development. I wish that it ended on a more satisfying note. There are gems of moments in this movie, and the ending. There's a line at the end that James Sweeney's character gives Dylan O'Brien before they kind of while they're at the cafe. That's great. So there's so many great components of this movie, but I went into this movie expecting something and I got it for like 10 or for like 15 or 20 minutes. And then the title card happened and I was like, "What? This isn't, make movies that make me happy, guys."
I
This is
love a messy movie,
it is
and this
messy.
is
It's
a
very
messy
messy. Yes,
movie.
you're right. It is messy. And if you don't have the expectations that I have, you're going to enjoy reveling in that mess. After the title card, shit gets fucked up. And that's not what I came here for. And so that's a unique experience to me. I need to watch it again. But that's me. That's my defense of myself. Okay. Alyssa, what
It's
did you think?
it's funny because I had like the exact opposite reaction to that moment, right? Like that post title card kind of thing was like I was like, oh, okay, this is where we're going with this. So it kind of hooked me in a way that I wasn't expecting, and like it, but it wasn't a disappointing different expectation, like it
Mhm.
was for you. I liked it, and I was like, okay, I can get on board with this, and then kind of see how it was going to play out from there. I liked the beginning stuff as well, but I liked the post title card stuff just as much, and it
Yeah.
it kind of introduced a different tone to things than I was expecting. And so, like you had mentioned, the dark comedy, it gets kind of even more dark at times and even more different than you would anticipate from the general premise and the log line of the film. Um,
I
so I
just want to
really
know
liked it.
I just want to know who approved the book cover towards the end of the movie.
I
That-
thought that was so iconic, like to
oh my
cut
gosh.
like long Warner outside the window to like
Yeah,
bring us into that scene by showing us that book cover. Like, oh my God,
that's
like
funny.
so good,
I
so
think I
good.
enjoyed talking about this movie more than I enjoyed watching it. So you know what? There's still some enjoyment to be had. Jonathan, did you get a chance to watch Twinless?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Like I think you guys covered most of the bases. I I had no expectations going into it other than like I had heard good things and I just it was one of the first films I saw in Park City, so I was kind of inundated by being at Sundance for the first time, so I didn't really think I had a chance of not liking whatever I was seeing anyway. Um, but yeah, no, I honestly agree with what you said earlier about how all the things I felt were lacking from Lurker I found in Twinless in a way, and yeah, I had kind of come off a like my admiration for Dylan O'Brien kind of started around the time of like the Saturday Night movie. I really enjoyed
Mm-hmm.
his performance of Dan Aykroyd, so that was kind of the first time I
Oh
had
yeah,
ever
you probably
really.
haven't seen Ponyboy yet.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
So
It
Ponyboy was
will
at
be
Sundance.
playing
Yeah.
in New York in theaters for Pride. I know it's playing in New York, Chicago, LA, a few around there for Pride because they're still looking for distribution.
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Because it was
I
last year,
It might
right?
have been
It was
at
last
New
year. Yeah.
Fest, honestly. If like that's probably I missed it, but I wasn't really going to a lot of screen. Anyway, I had seen him kind of maturing as an actor in a way that really came across in Twinless. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I didn't know it was really close on making it onto my top three, to be honest.
Yeah. 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 That's fair. That's fair. Good conversation. I think the internet will approve of this. Let's see, Jonathan, you're number two. Let's talk about it.
My number two, I think I have what Plainclothes, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Plainclothes. I feel like I talked about
We
it
did. We
already,
talked a
but
little bit about it.
I
Yep.
think it was just really Carmen Emmy had a really specific vision on that one, and I have a Greek family that kind of very much mimics the his Italian family. Obviously, I am not a undercover plainclothes cop, but just kind of there were really super specific things, and the way that it was edited together, and the way that they used like different formats like lo-fi and Super 8 and cut it all together made you really feel his anxiety, and I think it was paced perfectly. I think Russell also did a great job as like a odd like middle-aged male like closeted male, and it just like all the extra kind of like uh shocking moments near the end, like
Hmm.
I don't even think they were needed, but like they were just extra kind of little tidbits that like I'm not going to share now because they're just really good kind of I would be spoiling it, but like the dynamic really hits, and all the use of like a movie is essentially intention obstacle like over
Hmm.
and over again, and the way that all these secondary characters that we don't really think matter get wound back in at near the end. I thought it was really really well done, and I think that for like a second large performance, Tom did a really great job. Like I haven't seen him in anything besides Hunger Games and this, so I think it was really, really an interesting portrait of like the human psyche that uh like was just kind of perfectly shaped. It's not too long. It's a really just kind of a it felt similar to a Safdie brothers movie in some senses,
Hmm.
honestly. I don't know how that makes sense, but I also want to know where that theater is that they go to, that like kind of
Ah.
beautiful old theater.
Darn it, you should have asked me like 18 hours ago. So I talked with the cinematographer of this film, which was a really fun conversation, especially considering the shift between the two
Yeah.
styles of filming. And I think that yeah, everything you're saying makes sense here with like how the filming of it like creates that tension. I mean, so I'll be entirely honest. The first half of this film, I wasn't entirely sure how to feel about it. Like I didn't really connect with the romantic part of it for this first half of the film. And so it wasn't until the second half of the film when it became a coming out story that I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then that last scene, like the
Yeah.
way that that last scene was executed was just so I forgave so many things
And
that I had
like
issues with.
even the way that he was like showcasing like the way the police acted in this very
Oh yeah.
homoerotic way, that it just
Hmm.
seems like a super masculine normal thing to be done, and it just the way it was like dissected, it really just uh it that like this is the film that got me the title of my award for this like
Yeah.
the film
Absolutely.
that, but yeah, no, I think to your point about the love story, it's not really about that. It's
Great.
about his confusion over who he is, and he found someone to help shepherd him, and
Mhm.
that's what he's latching on to rather than like a romance. Maybe I don't know. It's
No, I
up
think
to
that's valid because
him.
that was what I was trying to like figure out in the film. In the first half, it's like, okay, what is going on with this romance? I'm not quite like I don't know where this is going, but the second half of the film just pulls everything about the film into focus,
Yeah.
and just justifies everything that happened in the first
The
half.
letter was
And
like the one thing that like also just that's what I don't want to I didn't want to like go into it, but
I
like
know,
oh God.
yeah,
I don't know. I
Alyssa, what
think
would?
that's a great first feature and a really
Yeah.
like small ensemble cast that delivered.
Yeah, fantastic. Alyssa, what were your thoughts on Plainclothes?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with most of what both of you guys have said so far. I thought it was really interesting. I do agree that I think the second half makes it more interesting, adds different elements to it. And again, the ending. I gotta say, I didn't like the stylistic choices as much as it seems like both of you guys did. I appreciate what they were going for with the like. I think it was high eight, right, or super eight, high
Hi,
eight, one
hi,
of the
yeah.
two. And I appreciate what they were going for, right? Kind of there's certain moments that switches to this other format.
Very, very
And so it's
90s.
kind of, yeah, and it's kind of like, you know, moments of like,
Anxiety or
yeah, anxiety, paranoia,
I didn't
things
like
that,
it. I just like how it, I didn't like it. That's what I was kind of trying to like. It made me feel the uncomfortability that I felt he was feeling. That's why I think it worked. But like, yeah, no one wants to sit through like strobe lights and like grinding, like shrieking noises, like obviously. But I feel you. I think it just put us in that feeling of uncomfortability. So I
yeah.
Mhm.
apologize.
No, no,
Yeah.
you're good. Yeah, I just think overdid it a little bit with that, but I liked what it was going for, and I understand why it was done, and it kind of throws you off at first too, because you don't know if it's actually like in the opening minutes, right? You don't know if it's actually like somebody's recording something, or it takes a little bit to be like, oh, okay, this is just like his perception of what's going on until there is actual recording later on, but it's I thought it was an interesting one. It was one that I originally didn't even have like I don't know if you guys were like anticipating this one. This was one I originally wasn't even planning to see, and it was kind of last minute. Back when we could order the P&I online, so I was like,
Mhm.
well, it's available. Let me order it, and I'm glad I did because I
Mhm.
like that one quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Marty, what were your thoughts?
I really enjoyed it. I saw it twice actually. It was the last in-person film I saw, and there was just so much about it that was like so personal to me. As someone who may have frequented a bathroom or two with someone, like I was just like, yeah, this movie is definitely going to be like for me, and I just really really connected with it. Especially like the movie set in 1997. I'm born in 1998. So like there's this kind of yeah.
There's a little
it-
bit of a
it-
disconnect.
yeah. So I don't know, like it just there's something about it that just felt so familiar to me. And a lot of the camera work, not the high eight, but the regular camera work and some of the transitions reminded me of Park Chan-wook's American film Stoker. And he actually, in that film, Emily Wells does the main song for it, and she does the music for Plainclothes as well. So every single time like one of her songs comes on, I'm like, I don't know, I was just like giddy in it, and I was just so I was in it. I was in it from the start, and just something about it. I think it's one of those queer stories. Like we get so many where it's like set where you're closeted and you have to hide, and so many of the times it's just on the pain and just like it hurts to be together. We're star-crossed lovers, blah blah blah. And I felt like this did such a good job of building the tension very slowly, edging you into this. And it's very sparse too.
Yeah.
So you're not really getting that kind of I don't know. The pain is more personal. The pain is more internal than anything else instead of this outside circumstance or because of the relationship is causing you pain. It's that inner turmoil that's causing you pain, which I just thought was like so well executed. The amount of times we've seen panic attacks in movies and it just look you don't feel it. This you feel it. You like you are in it. And yeah, I was blown away by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I liked
sure.
the that the girlfriend knew like right off the bat. I thought that was a trope that like
Mm-hmm.
definitely like went away with early on. But I also just was like hoping that the greenhouse is an homage to Brokeback Mountain as well. Like it felt like it. So like I'm just gonna think it is, but I don't know. It
I
like feels like that, like it's the only place they could go. They had this day that like worked for like both of them, and it just kind of felt like a subtle nod to that, at least in my head. So,
I'm still singing My San Francisco. I need that movie drop so I can get that album.
oh God, I that was a great like I don't know. I think it hit on a lot of elements, and I think we all covered it. I
yeah,
don't know.
no, good stuff. All right, Alyssa, you're number two.
So we're going back to documentary again here.
Again,
So
love that
my number
documentaries are
two,
showing up. Yeah.
yeah, there were so many good ones this year.
Mhm.
But my number two here is gonna be The Librarians. So this is a Kim A. Snyder film, and this is focusing on primarily Texas, but other states as well, Florida and a few other states that kind of cuts between, but focusing on book banning in U.S. school districts. Um, and so it really kind of puts you, it has a lot of interviews with librarians in these various school districts, but also kind of continually cuts to like school board meetings and other things. And there are a few sort of characters, these librarians and students and stuff that we kind of see throughout various stages of this book banning. And it's another one that, like with The Perfect Neighbor, different story obviously, but it's another one that just is infuriating for just different reasons, right? But it's one that really, you watch it and you're just like, how is this even happening? Like, what, how are these people talking like this in these school board meetings? It's a school meeting, and this film kind of delves into these almost instances of well, I would say conspiracy, but conspiracy implies that it's not actually happening. There are like these broader, larger forces at work doing this and kind of putting these book bans forward in these small, in school districts. And so it's one that's scary. These librarians are being threatened. Like there are death threats against some of these people. And if they're not being, their lives aren't threatened, their jobs certainly are. Many of them are fired as a result of their not even necessarily refusing to abide by the book bans, but just asking questions, wanting answers as to why certain books were banned, and discovering that the majority of them, right, without the superintendents and stuff necessarily saying it exactly, but when they would go through the list of books being banned, it's primarily books on like Black history, on LGBTQ, and other minorities, women, and so a lot of just infuriating moments, and not necessarily another one that's not an uplifting documentary by any means. There's not really any satisfying elements to it, I guess, as you watch, but it's one that I guess gets you thinking and makes you realize that this is happening at a large scale in so many other locations. If it's not necessarily happening where you live, it potentially might be. So
Mhm. Yeah, I unfortunately missed this one. Did anyone else see The Librarians?
I was unable to see it, but with a producer like Sarah Jessica Parker, I see this film being able to find its distributor fairly quickly, hopefully. She's a marketer. She knows what
Mm.
she's doing, and having someone like her in that producer role, I definitely think will get this film seen, especially knowing this subject matter. It's like so infuriating. I love my local library. They're like the most amazing part of my city, to be honest, because they will literally have anything and everything. If I can't find it, I ask them. Within 2 weeks, they will add that book. They will get that book. So like the idea of them having to start pulling books and hiding books, and it's such a sad, upsetting thought for not just general public, but for children, like children being able to find these worlds and explore things that they didn't know about themselves or come to learn about themselves or their history and being denied that just because you live in a certain place. It's really scary. That's how like World War II started. Like they started like burning trans books and they started burning books and like it's really scary of a thought to know that that history just could disappear from us.
Yeah, this
Mhm.
movie draws a lot of parallels between that, the book burning and stuff, in during World War II or ahead of World War II, and also, it kind of frequently cuts back to like ideas from Fahrenheit 451, and so it pulls from that. But like you said, like people or these librarians having to kind of hide these books. They're librarians in this who have like these pulled books in cabinets behind three locked doors, hidden away, just in the hopes that they're not going to get them actually taken, that they're going to have them available for these students. And I think I don't know if you guys saw, I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago, the short The ABCs of Book Banning. It was one of the Oscar nominated shorts, documentary shorts. So this has a lot of the same ideas, but presents them in a much better way, a much more coherent way. And it's, again, it has kind of that sort of viscerality to it because you see just these people at these school board meetings that are just going crazy, at students, at librarians, just wanting to have information, wanting to have books available for people.
Mhm. Jonathan, did you have a chance to see The Librarians?
No,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I didn't. The
Yeah.
only,
I wish there was more time, right? There's always
yeah.
always movies that you have to miss. So yeah, hopefully it gets distribution. I would love to check this one out. So I promise you guys this would be an hour long, an hour and 45 minutes later. So we're gonna do this last round, kind of rapid style. Let's just we'll go around, say our favorite film, one or two sentences about why it's our favorite film, and if there's any discussions about any particular one after we've all said ours, then we'll look into that. Okay. So I'm gonna start. My number one film, like this one, just as soon as I saw it, instantly became my number one. Was All That's Left of You. This movie was just such a compelling take on on generational trauma through the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And I'm so unfamiliar with what is going on with that. It's just so far outside of my world. But this movie really brings you into what what people are actually experiencing and how that has a ripple effect over the generations. And I just living with this film. I was really concerned about seeing a 2.5 hour movie at 8:30 in the morning. Very concerned about that. But just living with this story and living with this movie really um, gave me so much perspective on like the trauma and the suffering that families have to go through because of the this particular conflict or what this conflict inflicted on this family over generations. So I strongly believe that this is a Best International Film nominee. So that's my number one. Marty, what was your number one?
So I'm 3 for 3 when it comes to the film being done, writer, director, same person. So this will be Mary Bronstein's feature debut. If I had legs, I could kick you. If I had legs, I'd kick you. Um, I Another one. I went in literally knowing nothing other than the cast of Rose Byrne, Conan, ASAP Rocky, and I was like, I'm in. And it's a fucking wild ride. It's a 2 hour long panic attack, essentially. I'm a person, I can't sit still to save my life. I really can't. Like I'm all over the place. And this film, within the first 30 minutes, I was locked in. I was stoned. I literally was like just leaning back in my chair, arms crossed, like just in it. I was locked in. And Rose Byrne is just phenomenal. I've never seen a performance like this out of her. I've seen her do some drama before, but it's just, she's so intense and you can just feel every ounce of uncomfortability, of anger, of frustration, of just like wanting it all to like stop. And it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And the comedy in it is fantastic. There is a, what is it? Not a hamster, a guinea
A
pig
guinea pig,
puppet.
yes.
And it is so funny and upsetting, and you like literally just want to scream when you see it. It's so good. But no, like if Tully is like that feel good mother movie, like you watch that with your mom to be like, I love you, I appreciate you. This is the like, oh my God, like drama dump movie. And like I was like, this literally feels like Uncut Gems. It feels like a Safdie film. And then you see that I think it was Josh Safdie produced it. And I was like, okay, makes 100% like get it. 100 like I need this film to have a release date soon. It already is with A24. But yeah, I need it announced and I need everybody else talking about it.
You know, Ronald Bronstein is their co-writer, the Safdie brothers co-writer. So this is his wife, Mary.
Oh shit. Okay, makes so much more sense now.
He
So
wrote
much.
he wrote Heaven Knows What, Good Time, and I don't know if he was on Uncut Gems, but he was their original writing partner all the way through their early films.
How
Uh,
awesome. Jonathan, what was your number one?
I picked Sorry Baby from a New York comedian,
Uh,
Eva.
Eva
She
Victor. Yeah.
she just
Another A24 film as of a couple
Well,
days
now
ago.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just got bought, I guess. Facts. I guess they were negotiating with like Mubi and Neon, like in a three-way bidding war for a couple days.
Wow.
But yeah, no, Evo is a really interesting actor, director, writer, and I think it was a really just obscure, funny film, and I think the my hat goes off to her for like all that she did on it. Like the she's a producer, writer, director, star of the film, and she doesn't really have any background in filmmaking other than acting until this, and I think for a first feature, it was an amazing and clearly production companies and audiences agree. I really just I like to see filmmakers who didn't go a traditional route. She talked in one of those cinema cafe segments about how she always felt insecure being at Sundance, not having gone to film school and all these things, and she felt silly that like the majority of her background was making TikToks and things like that. And I think with this kind of new climate we're in, it really is a cool uh kind of person to look up to who went a really obscure route to where I think most people on this panel and who would be watching this want to go. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, what a success story. Alyssa, you're number one.
You guys have covered a lot of the ones that are probably more my actual number one, but the one I'm going to go with here is Together. And so this one is another one that got picked up out of the festival. This time, Neon, I think, got it
Mhm.
right, not A24. So Neon picked this one up. But this is a very fun body horror film.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, I know we briefly touched on it at some point earlier in this video, but this kind of explores the idea of like codependent relationships, and just relationships that maybe you're in for so long you don't really remember why you're in it anymore, and kind of trying to uh, I guess reignite things, or trying to get back to the way things were and being together and being close again. And this one it does some things that I think anybody who read the logline probably is expecting certain things from this, knowing that it is a body horror. And I would say it gives you that. And so it has its gruesome moments, but it's also just really funny. Like I saw this at the premiere, and there were parts of this movie where like you couldn't really hear what was being said because the audience was laughing so hard, so loud. And it's it does some kind of freaky stuff. It's fun. Dave Franco and Alison Brie have some obvious, some very inherent chemistry. They are married, so makes sense that kind of comes across in their performances as a couple in this film. And I had a lot of fun with this one. So it's got that body horror, like gross, gruesome stuff, but it's also got the entertainment and kind of fun side to it as well.
I'm so sad I missed it, but I think we all have really, really great number one picks here. I wish we had more time. Y'all, I could be here all night. I really could. Like, this is really great. And there's so many other great films that we haven't even mentioned here. We'll take those conversations offline. I'll probably be texting you guys afterward. So oh, guys, I appreciate all of your participation here. Obviously, Sundance has come to an end. So all of us have content that we're publishing on the festival. So, Alyssa, tell us about where we can find your content for Sundance.
So you can find my channel on YouTube at Mainely Movies. So again, that's mainly with an E in the middle, like the state of Maine. And you can find me on all of the other social media networks and Letterboxd as well for my initial reactions to all of those Sundance films.
Yeah, you definitely have great reactions. I was following them the whole time. Jonathan, where can people find your Sundance content?
Um, all official reviews you can find at my website, thecinemagroup.co, no M. And then all of our social medias are just at the Cinema Group, all one word. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, anything you could think of, we're probably there. And thank you for
Yeah.
having me, Thomas. I really, I'm happy we got acquainted at Sundance. But where can we find the ForReel
Yeah.
content?
Marty, you want to give this one?
Yeah, of course. You are more than welcome to find This Is For Real on Twitter, on thisisforreal.com. We've got TikTok where
Mhm.
you do your whiskey and
I do.
movie.
Yes, I do. Yes.
And yeah, just got tons of For Real content. It's on YouTube as well. That's where this will be. Uh,
Hmm. Yep. And you can
any other
find
places, Thomas?
you'll find all of our links in the description. I'll be sure to put everything there. One last shout out to Alpine Distillery. Thank you again for this whiskey. I am so excited to be sharing about it. And by the way, they do more than whiskey. Like they have gin, they have a bunch of different spirits. So it's not just whiskey. I just love whiskey. So I am here talking about that. But yeah, special shout out to Alpine. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you for partnering. And guys, thank you all for being a part of this video. I really appreciate it, and I think this is going to be a great conversation to share with everyone. And yeah, let's look forward to next year's Sundance and hopefully finding more opportunities to get together again. Okay.